Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
We're doing okay. We're doing okay.
Yeah, this is a little different format setup, and
I
we're not
was
used to
reviewing
trying to make this happen over a Zoom call.
I know. I was just reviewing our last episode, and at the beginning, you asked how me and the family were doing because we were getting over the sick stuff, and I totally sounded confident that we were done with it, and now here we are 2 weeks later in COVID quarantine because we didn't escape it after 2 years. So,
Jeez.
so we're feeling better. We're getting there. Hopefully, this is the end of it, and good stuff like that. But it's good to be with you over Zoom. So,
It's good to take the time and try to break this down a little differently. I got to be honest with you. I do like the sitting next to you and having this conversation versus a Zoom call, but the technology brings its own issues.
yeah, that's true. But we probably wouldn't have had this option a couple of years ago. We wouldn't have thought of this. So that's good. Good that's come out of this. So
that's true. That's so true.
Even when you're sick and supposed to be in bed, business can go on.
Right.
That's a good thing, right?
Trying to keep the consistency for leading is serving, right? So,
oh man. Well, I mean, ironically, we're talking about working even when we're sick, but aren't you taking a little bit of rest and vacation here soon?
Yes, I am taking a little break where you are trying to get better. I am skipping town to try to go put my mind in the right spot and try to relax for a little bit. So, yes.
Well, if your mind on a beach is the right spot, you're headed in the right direction.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys have a great vacation, great time away.
Yes. Thank you. I'm looking forward
miss
to
you.
it. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Although if you're a weekly listener of the podcast, Chris will be back next Wednesday when we drop a new episode too. So
yeah, I was gonna say by the time this drops is about the time I'll be coming back. So yeah,
that's right.
That's okay.
So, but how? Just a quick question for you. How does rest and renewal play into the rhythms of your life? How important is it for you?
Before I was doing two businesses and just trying to keep up with everything, and things were smaller, it wasn't as needed. But as I get older and get more involved with different things and different facets, I feel like I need it more and more so. I don't know that I need more time, but I definitely need to do it. And I think that each year, as things get busier and busier, it's harder to make it happen. Just because you have to release things to other people in the midst of you being gone. Somebody's got to take care of stuff that happens while you're gone. And it's a lot of prepping. I've been prepping since Monday, maybe last week, in preparation of leaving for tomorrow. So
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And don't forget you got two teenage girls too, that vacation is kind of handy. Yeah.
Right. And then there's my daughters too. So they, normally we only take, this year we're going to take a trip. The one we're going on, just about to go on. This particular one, my wife and I are only going on. So that doesn't happen as often, but so we had to figure out the family side of things as on top of both of our jobs that we were walking away from. So
yeah.
How about you? Do you feel like?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like 15 years ago, something like that, we kind of got suckered into one of those timeshares where we get credits each year and we can go to any resort in the system, and stuff like that. And we were like, oh, we're such suckers. And but out of that, we turned in almost a yearly habit of just my wife and I going away for a week.
God, that's awesome.
Sending kids off to Camp Grandma, Grandpa, and stuff like that. And that has been really, I mean, it's a highlight. It's a huge reset for us and just a time to get away. And it's been beautiful. So something we got to guard and protect.
Right.
Lean into
Totally
when we do
agree.
it. Yeah.
So, Jason, what episode are we on now?
This is episode 12. Yeah. Leading and Serving podcast. Oh, I know we said that, did we?
I mentioned leading and serving, but I was like trying to
almost
remember
like
what number we were on.
Right. Well, today we want to take a dive into one of the other voices. We kind of gave a quick overview a couple episodes ago. We talked about the connector last week. This week we want to talk about the guardian voice, that the guardian voice is about 30% of our population, those who have that voice as their primary, their first voice. And man, I got to tell you, I love a great guardian in my life. That guardian is my fifth voice. It is the hardest voice for me to access and use. And so having relationships with good, strong guardians who are healthy and express that well is such a valuable relationship for me. I mean, I didn't realize it until a couple of months ago, but I actually married a guardian. My wife's a guardian nurturer, and we play very well off each other's strengths and cover our own weaknesses in a sense. And
That's
so,
awesome.
but even in the workplace, I've got a couple of people that I know of that are real strong guardians, and man, I love them. I love them because a guardian has a relentless commitment to ask the difficult questions. So for me, as an idea person, a creative, someone who, has all these, big dreams and everything, they ask the hard questions of what is truly the win in this? How will we truly achieve this? How will we truly get there? Because they're always trying to seek to honor the past, even though they're looking toward the future. A guardian is a very present voice. That their thoughts are largely in the present of how do we guard, how do we respect, how do we honor what is going on right now, so that we don't lose our sense of identity as we move into the future, as we tackle and seek a big vision. How are we going to honor the past? How are we going to honor today? And how are we going to watch for that? They are very personally committed to deliver projects on time and on budget every time. The guardian is the one you want on your team when you say you've got a budget of $1,000 and I need it done in 2 weeks. They will get it done in 13 days for $999. And guardians are great that way. They guard the resources, they guard your traditions, your vision. Just as the connector is on the relational side of the spectrum, the guardian is on the opposite side of the spectrum, on the task side, that they actually have a very natural ability to detach their decision making from their personal sentiments, that they can take emotion out of a decision and lean into what is the right decision in this moment based on the facts and the data and the logic at hand. And they're very valuable in that aspect. Guardians, though, are naturally risk adverse, which is super positive, but as you look at a big vision, that's also something as a guardian to remember, that the first question coming to the mind of a guardian is this worth the risk and investment to go after? And and so it's an excellent question, but it also can hold back vision and direction you need to go to. And so using that in balance and knowing when to ask, when to push, and when to lean in, is very important for a guardian to learn. Guardians respect and value logic and order. They value systems and repeatable processes. They're great at just systemizing things and putting things in motion so that you gain simplicity and sustainability over the long run from your guardians in your workplace. Guardians have a huge desire for truth and right decisions. And sometimes, though, that can override the feelings of others. So somebody who is an intuitive type person who feels things, just from the gut, a guardian can sometimes override that and, just lean into the truth and logic just a little bit too hard, rather than considering that person's feelings in the process. So guardians are, like we said, excellent at holding on to what is true, what is present, honoring the past. But sometimes the guardians, if they find themselves stressed out or hangry or just under pressure, they can become this interrogator model of a guardian that becomes oppressive and dominating. And so what triggers a guardian in those moments is when they have a lack of trust in another person's credibility. If a guardian is picking up on the fact that you're not telling the truth or you're not acting with integrity, they are going to launch on that. They are going to feel that, and they're going to feed on that. Guardians are also triggered sometimes by unnecessary risk taking. So if just because something's shiny and new out there and we need to go for it, if it doesn't feel necessary, if it doesn't feel vital, That's something that can trigger their interrogation. Sometimes they bristle at arrogance that does not have room for correction. So a person who is overly arrogant and is not listening and is not accepting a bit of humility in their life, that can trigger them as well. And so guardians can really launch into that interrogator mode and really squash a moment with really hard questions. And so guardians, your strength can become your weakness as well, if used improperly. And so, like I said, I love a good guardian in my life. It's a voice that I can't access very well. It's limited in my life. And so I love guardians, relationships and friendships in that realm that help me move into the future with great systems, processes, and guarding the past. And so any questions on that, Chris? Anything that comes to mind?
That's some really good stuff. I'm kind of curious to know who I know that falls on. I mean, I can think of several people that I know that I'm kind of curious to know who I've surrounded myself with that is a guardian that's willing to ask those hard questions and push me on too. So now I'm going to have to think about that for a while.
I would, my guess is that you've got a mentor that have a very strong guardian streak in them. Because I think that's probably what you search out for in a mentor, is that you're looking for someone to help, sculpt those questions and put that challenge in your life. Guardians are great at bringing healthy challenge to us. They do a really good job at that hey, here's a great grand idea. Let's shoot for this year. And they will help draw that in and refine and bring that idea into a doable process and bite-sized chunk goals that you can shoot for. And so guardians are great.
Well, I'm in the right frame of mind. Working through that process is just huge. So, the right guardian in the right spot is just healthy.
Yeah. So if you know a guardian in your life, the best way to empower them is to welcome those questions. Ask them to challenge, ask them to bring that critique. And then when you start executing on an idea, let them lean into that due diligence. Let them give them space to commit and see the project through from start to finish. And they will surprise you. They'll amaze you. So.
Love that.
Very cool.
Well, Jason, I'm kind of curious now that we're kind of doing this a little different this week, and I'm trying to figure out. So I think it's time to talk to somebody, but nobody's here except you and me. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think we're going to have a powwow. I mean,
okay.
And maybe
we flipped the coin last week and you won. So
well, now it's your turn. So
okay.
Let's talk to you and figure out what it is that you do and why you do it. So let's jump into let's go down the road and let's talk to you and let me ask you some questions.
All right, bring it.
Tell us a little bit about your history. Tell like you obviously are not an Indiana native.
No.
So tell us some of your past.
All right. I am 9+ years a Hoosier, but I was born in the Southwest in Clovis, New Mexico, out on the Eastern Plains, which if you're looking at a map is actually only like 9 miles away from the Texas border. And so we grew up pretty close to the West Texas Panhandle, mountains in New Mexico, which I think surprises a lot of Indiana people that there are Rocky Mountains and skiing in New Mexico. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. But grew up out there, went to college in the Panhandle of Texas at Wayland Baptist University. That's where I met my wife. And we spent a couple more years after college in Texas, but then moved to Colorado and spent over 12 years in Colorado. There on the north side of Denver. We've got a couple of kiddos that were born there, and then we adopted a couple more while we were living there in Denver. One of the kiddos came directly from the neighborhood we were living at there, and the other one came from the neighborhood of Novosibirsk, Russia, actually in Siberia. Oh, wow. We went to Siberia in December to meet our son and hang out with him for a couple of weeks. That was an experience. That was fun. So,
oh, wow. That's
yeah,
amazing.
Yeah. So then we ended up out here in Indiana almost 9.5 years ago. and here in Greenwood on the south side. And we have adopted another little girl since. She was a foster care kiddo here in Indiana that we fell in love with and ended up adopting. And so we've got kids from 5 to 20 something, I guess now. I don't know how old he
Yeah,
is. He's an
you're a
adult.
busy
We'll just
guy.
call it that.
Right.
So
You have five
um,
to adults.
that's right, 2 adults. We got 2 kiddos out of the house and 3, and then we're still involved in foster care. And so we've got
Mhm.
a revolving door of kiddos coming and going in our house. We've got a little 5-month-old at the moment, and yeah, life is never boring around our household.
No
So
doubt.
a lot of
So
things going.
when you're, because you don't have enough to do, tell us about your growth process with, with your professional life, because you haven't always been a great podcaster. um I know that you
Well,
have
that's like
been.
going on 12 weeks, but yeah, that's pro level.
I consider you a pro, just in case you were wondering.
Hey, thanks,
But
man.
so
Thanks.
so tell us about how, obviously you said you went to college and that kind of thing. So what was the
Yeah.
progression of steps? What were you doing after college?
Well, early on in life, I felt very, I've always been connected to my faith, in God, and been a Christ follower all my, since I was a kiddo, thanks to my parents, and I raised very well in that manner.
Hmm.
And so, sometime in high school, I just felt like God was calling me into vocational service, is what we call it in the church. Just getting a job in the church, being a pastor. And so I went to school for that. My degree is a Bachelor of Arts in Biblical Studies with an emphasis in youth ministry at the time. But that's where I learned to play guitar, and I had always been a part of music, singing and trumpet and different instruments along the way, but had never picked up a guitar. So I picked that up in college, and the next thing I know, I'm doing both worship and youth ministry. And then a few years later, I start picking up web design and finding, just a technologist type role, I guess, in every church I've been in since, just a
Hmm.
development of technology. Not that I'm super great, but I am not afraid to Google, YouTube, and poke buttons, And so
Yeah.
I remember started building websites for churches in like 2002, 2003, back when it was really cheesy stuff. And I'm glad none of that's
Hmm.
on the web anymore. Um, and yeah, so been serving in churches for 25 years, I guess.
Wow.
Just leading a number of different capacities, number of different roles. But that's been shifting a little bit over these last couple of years. Felt it
Hmm.
prior to COVID. And then, COVID just kind of upset everything, disrupted everything, and, plans shifted and whatnot. But here we are today, and I've started a company in the last, I don't know, handful of months, mid-fall, early fall, business called exANIMO Solutions, which exANIMO is Latin for from the heart or from the soul. And so these are solutions that come from the heart. And it's largely centered around leadership development and leadership coaching, which is where the 5 voices thing, in the intro today, where the, some of the leadership tools we've been talking about in our intros are coming from, is that I started studying for that in I think it was around August of last year, to be a certified coach or guide in that with Giant Worldwide. And so I have completed that certification and starting a kind of a little side hustle, I guess, at the moment, of working with some clients and doing some education around 5 voices and leadership and how to lead into that, because I've, feel like God has given me ability to listen well and help impact
Hmm.
people's lives and stuff through that. And so,
So
do you have a question?
yeah, so tell me something that, through this process, I mean, you just went through a lot of growth, right? What is some of the things, some of those key things that have popped up during that time frame of just growing to this point that have kind of really influenced your steps of moving forward, even to getting you to the point where coaching is something that you enjoy and that you're passionate
Right.
about?
I think I think part of it is from my own journey, that I think just by nature of my voice order, of my personality, of how I lean into projects and into work, I find myself in a kind of a vicious cycle of burnout. that every few years I'm just at the end of my rope. I don't, candles not burning at both ends. I've got multiple candles burning at multiple ends. I'm just wrung out and done. And I'm really tired of coming to that moment. And so I've been searching for good coaching in my life, of helping break that cycle, helping me lean into healthier rhythms as an individual. When I get deep in a project or deep in a vision, or whatever that might be, it kind of creates tunnel vision for me. And so I've not been happy with the type of person I've become at times, because I get so focused and I get so overwhelmed or buried in the minutia and the detail. Like we were talking about the guardian voice, that's the voice that is last in my order. And guardians are great at carrying out processes and that due diligence of getting a task done. I'm more the 30,000, 50,000 foot view guy. I enjoy creating ideas and seeing them come to life, and getting stuck in spreadsheets and, developing standard operating procedures. And oh my goodness, it just drains me.
Right.
I've learned how to do it, but man, it just takes so much energy out of me, and I've got to renew for almost twice as long as it took for me to get it done.
Right.
So, a friend of mine,
at that point, you're very thankful that other people have those voices, right? So they can help you.
Exactly. So a friend of mine, introduced me to the Five Voices, introduced me to Giant Worldwide, actually a number of years ago, but it just wasn't the right timing, and it kind of got put on the back burner. But he stopped through. His name's Stephen Henson, by the way, if he happens to be listening. Shout out to Mr. Steve. But he stopped by this past summer and kind of renewed that in my thinking and in my heart. And man, I started digging into some of the tools and just realizing, wow, this is what it's like to be on the other side of me at times. And that if I'm looking at myself in a leadership mirror, and I want to work on these things personally. And the more I worked on them personally, the more I thought, man, this is gold. And, and I've, it's just stuff that I connected with so quickly and easily, and just love pouring into other people's lives as well. And so that's
awesome. So now you've gotten to a point now where you've gone through and learned so many things. You kind of feel obligated to share it, don't you?
Well, yeah.
Because of the growth and the benefit that you've gotten.
Right. I mean, I certainly do things that, I always keep a watch on how I'm providing for my family, or, how the needs around me are taken care of. And that's certainly part of my motivation, my drive. But in the end, I really want to see other people feel free, feel liberated, feel able to lead in healthy rhythms as well. And, I've been under that crushing weight so much, I really don't want others to have to go through that themselves. And so if I can help them along that journey, I would love to just be there for you in that moment. Because I mean, we just hear about it so much in our culture right now, of burnout, of just being done. What is my purpose? Where do I fit in? And I don't know how many times I've said in my life that I feel like a square peg in a round hole. And I'm a night owl, creative, kind of not fly by the seat of my pants, but a spontaneous. I just like moving with the moment, and boy, that does not work in a morning centric type A world.
Right. That's exactly right.
So I've always struggled against that flow. So yeah.
Right. Well, and I mean, to your point, like we're at this during this COVID, during this time of reflection, that so many people have gone back and gone, am I doing what I want to be doing? And am I happy with my job? Am I affecting change? Like younger generations, those are some of the key questions on what I know that some of these younger generations that are coming out of school going, how am I going to affect change? I don't really want to go answering phones to figure out if, Billy Joe's got, power on or something like that. But, I'd much rather, if they have to call me, they have a problem and they need help, I want to affect that change for them. And so it is definitely the timing of this is, in my opinion, is just a great thing that you're bringing a great service, in my opinion, to a lot of people who need it, who need the
Thanks.
guidance of being able to get through some of this stuff. And I think the
Mm.
5 voices are just amazing, an amazing way to, amazing tools to figure out where you land. And I mean, I know that
Right.
you've given me some wisdom on these tools as well, and taught me some things. And just getting to hang out with you, I'm always learning stuff. So
Mhm.
um, I can appreciate that from as a podcaster with you. I can tell you I appreciate the benefit that you've brought to me, and I haven't even gone through it. So
Right.
not yet, anyways. It's on the to-do list. So um, so we're so at this point you're trying. You've got clients out there that you're servicing here. You're growing, but um, and that is probably filling up another. You're a busy guy, but then I also understand that you're also involved with something else
Yes.
because you
Yeah.
didn't have any time left, or
Right. I
you
didn't
had
have it.
time
Yeah.
left.
Um, yeah. It's probably the busier I stay, the less trouble I get into. Although I still find plenty of trouble to get into. No, the shift that I mentioned a couple years ago that started was largely revolving around um, how do we bring resources and tools to our community, meet the needs of the community as the church. I mean, there's a lot of churches doing great things in our community, doing things that are,
Hmm.
like food pantries and clothing closets and outreaches and ministries and things that are, helping people. But we tend to think about it as the church first.
Hmm.
And I started asking questions around what if we think about it in terms of community first, and then somehow church works into that and fits into that. And so how do we bring our faith to the marketplace in a genuine way that meets the needs of our community and brings a service and brings a rapport with the community that maybe a lot of churches feel like they're lacking today. And so
Hmm.
we've started a new nonprofit called the Uncommons, that I'm the executive director of at the moment. But the Uncommons is a marketplace idea, business basically, that seeks to be a financially sustainable nonprofit. So our goal is not to be out fundraising 30% of our time to try and make ends meet. Our goal is to create sustainable business structures within the Uncommons so that we can fulfill the vision, fulfill the passion of helping people and meeting people's needs. And so right now what we're doing is we're looking for a property, a building or a land that we can build on that would house basically a multi-use facility, be centered around probably a living room type concept. If you want to think of like a bougie Starbucks type
Yeah.
environment, where people
Okay.
can just come, a gathering space that feels like
Okay.
it's a living room for the community, where you just come, you hang out, and you can be a part of. Part of that will be that we've got a drink concept, kind of a for-profit a quick serve restaurant idea that will go in the nonprofit. We're looking for partners as well, whether they're other
Hmm.
restaurants or food ideas. So,
Okay.
food is the great breaker down of barriers, right? And so we
Right.
want to see, this living room concept surrounded by a couple different food ideas from sodas. If anybody knows me well enough, I'm highly passionate about my Dr. Pepper. So we've got to have a good place to go and get a high quality ice filled Dr. Pepper in the Midwest, because that's a value
Right.
of Southwest that I need to bring up this way. Right. Um,
Right.
but from drinks to food, we have this environment where we can just be together. We're looking at doing a co-working space, especially now. This was in the plans prior to COVID, and now
Hmm.
post COVID it seems so much more relevant. Many of us who are looking for a place to work and to be a part, out in the community, connecting, making networking connections, connected to resources, trainings, classes, leadership development. That's partly why I've gotten into the coaching, is that I see that as an avenue for the Uncommons, something that we
Hmm.
can bring to our community. And so we're looking for partnerships with that, with other organizations. We've got some huge dreams down the idea. We got huge dreams down the road, ideas such as doing a sensory gym for special needs families, maybe doing a teen game room for teenagers in the area, education classes from financial planning to budgeting to parenting to even having a place for our community where we can have honest conversations about about the tough issues in life, just having some town hall type experiences, but also that the space would be available for comedy shows or band startup bands here in the area who need a little place to have their first couple of concerts. Let's how can we lean into our community, that if we can strengthen families, if we can strengthen our community, we all win together. And so that's what we're after, is how what is missing, what is needed in our community, and how can we come along and partner with we don't have to recreate the wheel in certain areas, because there are people doing amazing things out there. And so how can we partner with them and then bring some new ideas to the community as well? And so that's the Uncommons in a nutshell.
That's amazing setup, and I'm super excited about that. And actually super passionate about the fact that this is such a neat concept and such a great way for the community to grow, as well as benefit from the opportunities that are all inside that Uncommons, and the things that can come from it. So super excited about that for you and the team. It's just amazing that it sounds like there's a lot of moving parts to that, and I'm super excited. So I do want to take a moment, because I know that you're going to probably need some help at some point with some different things on that. So let's just go ahead and throw out your information real quick, just so that we don't, for those that, want to grab a hold of that or might have some questions, they might want to follow up with you on some things that are going on with that situation. Maybe we ought to throw out your information in the show notes, or so that we can, because that's not going to be you tell me, is that so? You're the executive director. Do you need a team? Do you need anybody else to help you with that, Jason?
Oh man, if you're a guardian, yeah, we need some guardians to come alongside this. Absolutely. No, any of the voices, we are certainly, looking for people who will champion the Uncommons in our community, whether that's just, liking a social media page and sharing everything that ever hits that page, we are doing fundraising on the front end, because getting into a building is difficult. We want to be financially sustainable down the road, but we do have to do some fundraising on the front end. And so we're taking donations as a nonprofit. It's tax deductible. We are looking for investors who would help us invest in a property and a facility. And so if you fit that bill, we would love to talk with you. People who are interested in project management, things that you can help us get from point A to point B on some of these big projects. We're in the process of launching a new website. We've got a little page set up at New Hope, which is the church where I serve. New Hope's is hosting a page there, kind of a landing spot for us. But we're working on launching a website here, hopefully in the next month or two, that will be out. And so projects like that would help us get from point A to point B, and you can just help with that due diligence of moving the ball down the court. We would love any type of volunteers. If you're a grant writer, goodness, there's tons of grants out there. If you enjoy doing that type of thing, we would love for you to come alongside and catch the vision. We see this as a for the community, by the community type of project. This is not, the idea may have started with one person and it's grown to, we have a board of directors. It's grown to, a few further down the road. There's, a whole church is involved with New Hope. New Hope is committed to seeing this project launch in the community as well. But if this strikes a chord with you, we'd love to talk with you. So probably the easiest way to get a hold of me, now you could go to New Hope's website, becomehope.com. There's a link on there for the Uncommons. I'm on the staff page. You can just email me. at jason@becomehope.com. The Uncommons website should be up soon. I think that's uncommonsgw.com. And that will be up in the near future. You can catch me on LinkedIn. That's a great spot as well. We'll put that link in the show notes.
All right, Jason, let me touch on a couple of questions that we oftentimes ask a lot of people. You know, I know that you're probably used to them by now, and you probably got it at the tip of your tongue, but I'm going to try to stump you anyway. So, what is a seemingly insignificant moment in your life that turned out to be significant? What's that one thing in the past that kind of
That's a great question, Chris. I would probably go back to, I don't know, a couple of years ago. A friend of ours in the church, Jim Parker, he's on staff with me there. We took a trip up to Brownsburg, to a church up there that we had heard was kind of doing some new things. Kind of like what we were saying about the Uncommons. They were doing some, they purchased an old Ivy Tech building. I think it was is that the school that went under? I think that's right. They bought the entire building, but the church only takes up about 20% of the building or something like that. And they were doing some really cool things in their neighborhood. And so we went up to visit it and kind of get some ideas for New Hope. But man, I remember exactly where we were coming off the Brownsburg Highway, entering onto 465, heading south back down to town. And I don't remember exactly what Jimmy and I were saying, but we saw just this vision of what could be so much more. And I just remember both of us sitting in the car going, we could do so much more. And that was the turning point for me of going, you know, something's got to shift, something's got to change. And I think that's where the seeds of just the vision for the Uncommons, you know, even looking into things like coaching and even this restaurant concept that we're looking at within the Uncommons, all of those things started being birthed in that moment, I think. And we just went up to a church we thought were doing some cool things, and we were hoping to bring back an idea or two that we could start implementing, you know, and it became life shifting, life altering in the direction of my life. I didn't see that coming. And that is becoming even more and more significant each and every day. Just a little trip of, hey, let's go check that out. Cool. Yeah, we'll grab lunch on the way. Yeah.
Right. That's awesome.
Man, it's changed everything.
Yes. I love, and I'm not just going through that whole talk with you about, you know, what you got going on with it is just amazing. That's just super exciting. I'm so excited about that. Okay, we've got another question for you. What is the biggest thing other people tend to underestimate in life, work, and leadership and wish they would get right?
I don't know if this is the biggest thing, but it's been something that I've been dwelling on a lot lately, is just the skill of listening. And I know we've talked about that with a few of our interviews over the past of, you know, within the context of sales. Sure, you know, you want to be an active listener, trying to uncover people's needs and whatnot, but even just being active listening. And I've even started noticing how horrible I am at multitasking, you know, that I think, oh, I've still got such and such. I can keep clicking. All I'm doing is, you know, I'm photoshopping an image. This has nothing to do with words. I can listen to this conversation and play on this image, you know, and it just doesn't work. It's not true. And so I actually, there's a leadership principle from Tim Elmore. I think it's in his latest book, The 8 Paradoxes of Leadership. I think I'm getting that wrong, probably. But one of the things he talks about is confidence and humility. And he said, when you're in a debate or a discussion, or you're, you know, like for me, I'm trying to tease out a new idea, a big vision we want to start tackling. He said, talk as if you are absolutely right and listen as if you're absolutely wrong. And I thought, man, what a position to go into every conversation about. Be confident in what you're saying, but be humble in your listening, and just listen and truly listen. And, you know, how many conversations have you been in where you've asked somebody a question and they answer you the wrong answer to the wrong, they may have heard a couple of words in the question, but they didn't answer the right question.
Wow.
And I want to be a better listener at that. And so I think if we did that across our culture, across our world, I don't care if that's business, our families, politics, social media, if we listen, we might be wrong, and we listen with that kind of humility to others, I think we would stave off a lot of our troubles in our culture.
Wow. That was really good. I might have to absorb that one for a minute.
Like I said, I've been absorbing for a few weeks on that, so I've been dwelling on that one for a while lately.
That one's a good one. That is truly good. And we might have to put his book in the show notes if we have a chance, if you want to get that in there. So that
I wish we had a guardian. I wish we had a guardian taking notes to help us do all that.
Right,
anyway, moving on.
Last question.
All right.
So what is there, if you could go back and talk to your 21-year-old self, what would you tell them to do differently or better, or what would you tell
them? I referenced it earlier. I would tell my 21-year-old Jason, be the square peg. That I fought a lot of years trying to shave off the corners and become a round peg for the round hole. But I'm a square peg, and I need to lean into that because that's how God created me, and I bring a very specific value and benefit to the world. I can say that, but yet sometime here within the next hour, I'm going to do something to try and sand off one of those sharp edges and try and fit in that round hole again. That has come for me in so many different ways, so many different facets of life, from how I file papers. That's a long story. I'll leave that one for off the air. From filing papers to being a night owl to being a dreamer, an idea creative. I mean, there's so many things that I just want to tell my younger self to don't sweat trying to be like other people. Be yourself.
Right.
So there you go.
Good insight. Well, thanks again. I appreciate you chatting with us and giving us your wisdom again. And I always enjoy your wisdom, even as we talk with other leaders.
Well,
so
thanks. All right. See y'all in a minute. Hey, Chris. Thanks for letting me share my story. That was hard, but yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity.
It is, once again, like I told you before, it's different being on the as the interviewee versus the interviewer. Yeah. It's a little different. I mean, that hot seat last week was a little bit different. How'd you feel about it this week, Jason?
I'm looking forward to interviewing somebody else next week. So that's how I felt.
It's time to talk about somebody else now.
That's right.
Well, Jason, I appreciate all the information. Is you have so much going on, and I'm super excited about the Uncommons, and I'm very thankful that you've spent time with me and spending us time together interviewing all these leaders. Period. But I also want to make sure that. I'm super excited about your coaching. We didn't get to touch on that a lot, but I know that, each one of these podcasts is bringing a different aspect of you being able to teach people and listen so they can hear some of the things that you're working with day in, day out. And so I also want to make sure that people recognize that these tools that we're talking about on this podcast are coming straight from Jason coaching people and using this kind of information. So I want to make sure that we throw in the show notes an opportunity that if you didn't get the information that you're interested in taking the test to try to understand your either yourself or your team, or better ways to bringing your team together so that you understand each other, that you reach out to him and have him help you with some of those kinds of things, because I am super excited about it. I am enjoying talking about those kinds of things and learning those kind of things and bringing my team together. So I can tell you firsthand that I'm getting the benefit from it. So I want to thank you again, Jason, because this was a great review of some of the great things that you're involved with and the great things that you're taking on. So
yeah.
Thanks for spending this podcast.
Yeah. The tools that we talk about on a podcast are, I guess, mildly helpful in a podcast setting, right?
Right. Like we can't put it all out there.
Yeah. That the coaching is designed for, for one-on-one, for working with your team, with your organization. It works. The tools are great from one-on-one up to, large numbers of people if you're part of a big organization, and it works both in person or virtual. The coaching platform Giant Worldwide is built on a virtual platform, and so it works great on Zoom. And I've been super impressed with some of those things. And so just reach out.
It doesn't really matter where you're listening to this. If you're looking for some coaching and some help, then it doesn't matter where you're at, and just reach out.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. The show notes has it's got the link for the 5 voices. It's a free assessment, a free account, and you actually have access to all of Giant Worldwide's content through that free account, which is really cool. And then I can just come alongside as a guide and help walk you through that if you so choose. So so throw your information up there too, so that people can reach out to you if they didn't hear it on the podcast or hear us talking about it earlier. And then don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for listening to us and spending this time to get to know Mr. Jason Kempf. Yeah, holler at us if you got any questions about the podcast. Send us a question, email in the show notes as well. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you like and what you're enjoying. So, Chris, it's been a pleasure hanging out. Hope you have a great vacation.
Yes. Thanks, Jason. And I hope
you'll be
that you
super tan on the next video, right?
Yeah, I doubt that. But I'm hoping that you get a clean bill of health, my friend, and look forward to doing this in person next time.
I agree. Let's do it. All right. Y'all have a great day. Take care.
You too. Bye.